Hello everyone, welcome back to the upper bracket where we have Geese Can Fly going up against Evo Esports. This is probably going to be one of the closest matches of the day. I mean, it can't get any less close. We've had 3-0s all day consistently so far. But yeah, this one feels like the competition is starting to heat up that little bit. Bosbez and Jaden going up against Josh and Key for a place in that upper bracket final. Padster, I'm so excited for this one.
Yeah, it almost feels like a brilliant mirror match. On both teams, you've got a player who has been playing at a decently high or top level for an extended period of time. You know, if I need to know something from pre-Trackmania 2020, Key is someone I know I can go to. Meanwhile, you then have Jadon and Josh, this pair who have had a meteoric rise in the last year or two, having gone from, kind of fringe players doing well in team comps into specialists in full speed in the case of Josh, then turning into these incredible mix players. And it's going to be really interesting to see how the mix of experience and youth on both teams play against each other.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it that way, like that kind of dynamic of Boz and Key being those experienced players, and then Jaden and Josh kind of like rising through the ranks very quickly, I might add. Obviously, Jaden, most recent BIPL winner, when obviously most people were saying that Boz was the favourite. Jaden ultimately came through and took that. Great performances in Beacon as well, and Encore for Jaden. I believe he was 4th in Encore. 4th, 5th, maybe? I think 5th.
I think 5th.
Yeah, I think it was 5th, but still, that's an amazing result for what we have classed previously as an up-and-coming player. I think we now have to talk about him as kind of one of the top players. So, yeah, Boz and Jaden on a team together is very scary, and the reason why that most people, I think, are saying that they're the strongest. Can they advance to that upper bracket final if we're going into predictions? I think so. I think they are still the team to beat. Out of all the matches we've seen so far, they look the strongest. I mean, round 3, Boz drives a world record. Like, that's the kind of form that they're in right now. Do you think that anyone is stopping them? Do you think that Evo is going to stop them?
I think it's going to be tough for Evo, even at the best of times, the best prep that Evo could possibly have had, it's still a tough matchup to run into. And obviously, Josh has been certainly hurt by the congested schedule recently, delivered a very good performance, finished 4th in Beacon Dual League with Elcon. So obviously had to put a hell of a lot of time into that, and now having to switch to this so quick, it's going to be tough, but I've learned not to underestimate him, or anyone on this bench, to be honest. They're all such good players. I'm really just hoping we have some close rounds, and we better get a map 4. I really want a map 4.
I think this is it. This feels like the series that we get a map for. I think the only thing that maybe might come into this slightly is nerves. And I kind of hate talking about the mental side of things because, the players are right there. But anyway, they can't hear us.
It's a different environment to when you're on stream and they're not listening.
Yeah. But
they're there.
I don't know. I've seen Josh before get a little bit nervous and make a few mistakes, which is completely human. Like, I don't blame him for it at all. But, like, when I've seen Boz and Jaden, I haven't really seen them have particularly bad days, off days, wobbles, That's maybe my only concern. Like, I think Josh is equal to Jaden and Boz on his best day, but if it's not his best day, then I think that the balance of power starts to shift a little bit,
I think with Boz, he's a bit of an interesting player because I feel like 8 times out of 10 he drives incredibly well and incredibly consistently. Then every now and then he'll just have a match which is an absolute crash out, where if he starts losing, he'll just continue losing, and you might go, well, on paper you should have won that, and it just all kind of falls apart. So
yeah,
he'll just be, well, maybe not him, but certainly Jadon will be hoping that doesn't happen to Boz, and that Boz can stay level-headed, can stay consistent, especially on an unfamiliar setup. It's one thing to try and adapt to, playing in a LAN environment when you've got a normal input device, but when you're dealing with a meter-wide mousepad to try and make it work, it's tricky.
Yeah, I think we could have definitely made that point before the first game, but like the first game has happened, and Boz looks exceedingly comfortable. So
yeah.
I don't think any hardware input device gremlins are going to be plaguing him. Like, all of the players we've seen so far look comfortable on stage. They look like they're performing as we would expect them to in an online tournament, given just on paper. But yeah, this is where things really start to get interesting. Our next two matches essentially decide our top four. You know, you win the next match, top four secured.
Yeah, that is true. In fact, you win this match, I think it's top 3 secured even. You will be making your way into the winner bracket final. So
Yeah, but you could still go down and lose in the lower final.
you'd lose in the consolidation final.
Okay, yeah, you're right. My maths isn't my strong point. Okay, I'm a caster. I'm not a mathematician. I don't do the numbers games. But regardless of whatever it means for them to win, I am sure that they, you know, they want to win. They just want to beat whoever is on the other team.
Oh yeah, that's always what is more important. We can take a look at the bracket now to see exactly how it's all shaping up. So a decent chunk of it now has been filled in. We've had 6 games played so far today, 2 teams eliminated, and we have 4 teams left in the upper bracket. So the winner of this match will go on to face the winner of Wold versus Moonvale. That is another match that I struggle to predict. It's really going to be a case of how people play on the day, and that'll be in about an hour's time. But for now, the winner will go on to the winner bracket final to secure a top 3 spot and a chance to go all the way through to the grand final without having to take the long way around. Well, the loser will drop down to the lower bracket where we'll have to play, it's got to be said, a decent looking split team.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, I think the consensus probably is that Boz and Jadon advance here. Would you agree?
Yeah.
In which case it would then be Josh and Key versus Kozza and Killian, which I still think that's a close match. It kind of depends what Evo we get, right? If we get an Evo that is winning rounds against Boz and Jadon, then they could even just advance to that upper final and cause an upset here. But really tough one to call. Obviously, let's get this match done first before we kind of go into any lower final predictions. I think the players just getting ready now to go into that pick ban. I'm struggling to remember what the pick bans were earlier for Geese Can Fly. Can you remember? Cast your mind back to 3 hours ago. I know it's difficult.
The first pick was soccer, not football.
It was. You're right.
And honestly, past that point, it didn't really matter because we didn't get to map 4. So I'll tell you, it wasn't peak though. They didn't pick that.
I think it was. We played Wildfire.
It must have been Perfect Blue.
Soccer, Wildfire, and Flower is the voice. Is what the voice in my ear has just told me. Very helpful. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So the picks from them must have been Perfect Blue and Peak then.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, I really don't know what to expect. It's really hard looking at this set of players to really pick out like one team being better at a specific style than the other. I think all maps are going to be relatively close, and I think maybe picks, they're not going to matter as much. It's not like looking at Retirement Home and going, well, they really struggle on 360s. I think this is just, all these players will be full trained on every track.
I think if I can make one prediction, I think that Geese Can Fly go 1-0 up here. Just based on how well Boz was driving, I don't think that anyone is getting close to Boz on this map. Drove world record round 3 in the first match of the day.
If we start on soccer, not football, I agree.
Yeah, if they pick the same map, sure. With Boz that dialed in, maybe the only person that can beat him is Epos, possibly Wizzy on a good day.
Yeah, realistically.
Yeah, so I could see it going 1-0 up. Obviously, we then go to Evo's picks, and things could start to shift, or things could start to very quickly go downhill for Evo, as we've seen in every match so far today.
Well, honestly, if we get to map 4, it's been the closest match of the day so far. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I guess we can. Can we take a look at the bracket again? Potentially, Mr. Producer Guy. No. Okay. Okay.
Oh.
got a 1 second in the ear.
We're trying.
They weren't ready.
Yeah, I feel like we're the ghosts haunting the producer to some extent. We
Yeah.
both missed the memo we'd be up against a black wall, so you just got this pair of floating heads here. But yeah, so we have the bracket back up, and
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I wanted to talk about was lowers. So the two teams in the lower bracket right now, Good Focus and Split. Do you think that they advance any further? I was saying that the top 4 in the uppers right now is my top 4 for the tournament. Do you agree? Do you disagree?
I think they should be the top 4. If all the players play as well as they can, they should be the top 4. If, there are a few players who can have a bad day and just not play at their best. And if one of them gets, has that happen, gets caught out, maybe a Davino, maybe a Josh, someone like that, Good Focus and Split, they're there to pick up the pieces. They look significantly stronger to me than Retirement Home and looks like Damcan. Anyway, we are into picks and bans. This match will be getting underway very, very shortly as we get to see who, which map they pick. Geese can fly up first. I'm expecting we'll probably see Soccer Not Football again, but I can tell you from my position, the two of them, they're chatting to each other. They're trying to figure out the map pick. They've had half an hour to think about this, and they're still debating which map they're going to go to start this. You've got 30 seconds left, lads. What you got?
Gonna need a final answer.
Yeah. We need a countdown clock to start going.
We do. There we go.
We get Wildfire. Okay.
Interesting. Okay. But I mean...
That's surprising to me, because they looked a bit shaky. We saw a few mistakes coming out from them there on Wildfire, so...
Evo surely here don't pick it Soccer Not Football, right? Given that that was their first pick earlier and how Boz looked so good. Potentially that ends up being their second pick. Evo picking Perfect Blue, which I don't believe we saw Geese Can Fly on earlier. Second pick for Evo is it's Soccer Not Football.
Okay, well they rate their chances then. If they can look at how well Boz was performing on that and go, yeah, we can take him.
Supposedly. And then we get Peak as map 4, so we might actually see it. You never know. Keep your fingers crossed. But that is the pick and ban all over, so we will be moving into game very shortly on Geese Can Fly's pick.
Yeah, I got to admit, I'm quite surprised by the pick of Peak as map 4. That I didn't see coming. But yeah, Flower of the Ground relegated to 5th place. Unlikely to... Well, it might be seen. If there's going to be a match we've had so far where it could be seen, this will be the one. The players are ready. The match should be getting underway shortly. In this great event. We've had such a good time here today. It's been great to run this first like big LAN in the UK outside of, you obviously have a Red Bull event, but that was less players. That is the stat we're going with. We're the biggest LAN in the UK by the number of players. That's a stat that looks good for us, as we are hopefully going to be getting underway shortly.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the event. I'm having a great time so far. Everyone give me a cheer if you're having a good time. There we go. See, everyone's having a good time. It's a good event. I think the players are enjoying themselves. The competition's great. The level of competition as well is phenomenal, as it has been for every single BITM event. The standard has just been getting higher and higher. We've had more players joining, and the depth as well. Like, even if you look at, I don't know, the top 32 in the UK right now, that 32nd player is still at a pretty insane level.
Yeah, it's got to be said. Certainly, if you cast your mind back maybe 3 years to the first of the BITM tournaments, the very first BIPC, Pack absolutely ran away from it, from Sabre. Boz didn't make the final at that point because he's still relatively inexperienced. It's just, the level has gone up so much now that it's even hard to put a pin on who might be the best player in the UK. But we are looking at Wildfire. We've got it up first. It is a map that has been seen on every single match, and it has caused absolute chaos, it has to be said. And we are underway.
Map 1, Geese Can Fly, Evo Esports. Josh takes an early lead. Anyone going to crash the outside? Yes, it's going to be key crashing the outside dirt, but Josh already pulling a gap of about 0.2 here. Boz closes up, but loses speed on the exit there. Jaden falling behind as well, so it is a 2-horse race between Josh and Boz, and Key and Jaden. See if Josh can maintain that lead out in front. Boz is pushing those lines hard, trying to reel Josh in, but just not quite able to get that overtake done just yet. Yeah,
Josh having an absolutely smoking start to this map. If they can keep it together, our line looked a little wonky, but it should be more than fast enough to clear the jump. They will be able to... goes too far to the right, and that unfortunately throws away a draw they were trying to salvage after that mistake from Key into
Boz.
looks like
Oh, that's a slowdown.
what doesn't look like a very comfortable ace now. It is still going to be an ace, but unfortunate, very costly mistake there from Josh to give Geese Can Fly an ace.
Yeah, and they just weren't close enough at the end. Boz with that little pixel clip slowing him down, had to go for the safe in. But yeah, the mistakes compounding themselves. Josh drove a great first half of that round though, was consistently 2 or 3 tenths ahead of Boz. So it does bode well, but you've just got to make sure that those mistakes don't creep in when you're playing against that level of player that is only 2 tenths behind you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Josh's pace looked absolutely rapid, and this time he's got a teammate to support. Key is up there as well. This is Jadon and Key kind of falling a little bit back, maybe about 10.5, 2 tenths. Meanwhile, Boz and Josh up in front. And once again, Josh has his about 10.5 lead, and it's not even like you can point at one corner that he does really well and he gains all his time. It just seems to be a little bit faster everywhere. But for now, this round looking strong for Evo Esports. Chance of an ace as Key is hunting down Boz. That battle second so tight until Key throws it into the wall.
Oh, no.
Josh makes a mistake and the ace has been thrown away. And despite, frankly, not a very quick round from either of the Geese, they do come out with an ace.
2 rounds where it was looking so good until it wasn't for Evo. 2 big crashes for both players, 2 costly mistakes. It's 6-0, but you know, if the map finished halfway through, it would currently be 6-0 to Evo. Josh now with a mistake at the start of the map has driven so well up until the latter stages, but it just seems like maybe the pace that they're trying to put up is too much. But when you're up against a player like Boz, you know you have to beat him, so you kind of have to just go, I need to full risk. There's no way that I can drive this safely and still end up in front.
Well, I'm almost going to go and disagree, you know. It's Josh has had gaps of like 1 or 2 tenths, which amongst this level of player is not something made up easily. And just has continued to push, continued to risk, whereas Boz and Jadon, their pace hasn't been stunning, but it doesn't need to be. They've just been able to sat there and let Evo crash all around them, and it looks like it's going to be, you know, it's 9-0. This is not something you can come back from.
It's a good time from Boz and Jadon as well, 57.2 and 57.3, but it's not, the pace isn't insane. Like, world record is Key with a 56.772. So Key ultimately has the pace to drive those insane times, and if he was able to be within like 3 tenths of his own world record, then he'd be beating Boz and Jadon right now. But once again, it's that where we keep using consistency. You might be able to have the pace, but if you can't finish the rounds, ultimately you're going to come a cropper. It's 9-0. This first map feels done and dusted.
Yeah, I mean, they can keep it alive, but they're going to have to drive ace after ace after ace, and they are currently in a position where they could keep it alive another round, but 3 rounds in a row without any crashes and keeping up this pace is going to be tough, as Key is on a good run, but Jadon into that 2nd place in front of Josh. It's going to come down to Josh here. Has to try and go for it, has to try and get past Jadon to give any chance of this track, and it's not going to happen. Geese Can Fly going to round this out 10-1.
56.9 from Kilo, nice time, 0.15 off his own world record. So the pace was there the whole time, and they just need to carry that in forwards into the next match. Just iron out those mistakes if they can. I know it's so hard when you're in this environment. You're up against 2 amazing players in Bozbez and Jadon fighting for your tournament lives, and the mistakes are just going to come through. It's human nature. It's how the mental works sometimes. It's how the game works. They put up a good fight. I think the scoreline in that first game does not reflect how good they were driving. It just reflects the fact that they made one mistake and their opponents didn't.
Well, it was more, I think it's less of they made one mistake. They had one round where they had one.
Okay, they made one mistake every round.
Every single round,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
It's really unfortunate, because on pace, Evo should have had them. That was a real opportunity, and if they have that kind of pace on the other tracks, this could still be a close game, but they have to be consistent.
Yeah, we have to remind ourselves that Wildfire was Geese Can Fly's pick. We now move on to 2 back-to-back picks for Evo, which I can't remember what they were. so we'll find out that in a minute.
Should've written them down.
But I should have written them down. Yeah, that would have been a smart thing to do. But ultimately, you know, Evo have picked these tracks. They think that they are going to be the better team than Geese Can Fly. Will that come to fruition? I mean, we said this would be a closer match. So far, that hasn't really played out in terms of the points, at least. But basically, in terms of the driving, I would say these 4 players look pretty close on pace.
Yeah, well, certainly pace-wise, they're absolutely neck and neck. And it's just going to come down to consistency. And can Key and Josh dial it in here to take this match significantly closer to Geese Can Fly? They're going to have to if they want to have a hope of getting through to that upper bracket final, to guaranteeing themselves that top 3 position. Can they do it?
Map 2 of a potential 5. We move on to Perfect Blue, and over the hill. Key with a little bit of a slide out there, has not the optimal angle, although I think that was a clip there from Bozbez on the outside, just tried to carry a little bit too much speed. So Josh and Key moving into first and second. I think Key potentially on the outside there, clipped, full 7/10 back. Boz another 2/10 further. Who gets the quarter pipe better? Josh and Jaden very similar, separated by less than a car length. Josh going more inside. Jaden should carry more speed here, but can he make the risky finish? He's going for the snipe, but yep, straight into the wall. Knew that he had to push it, and it is a victory for Evo in the end. 2-1 after 1 round.
Yeah, that was a very fast exit from Jaden there, but just not able to actually adjust in time for that risky line. I said it was something that could catch players out, and we finally see it come to fruition there. As Josh and Key take the lead of this, and they've scored more points on Perfect Blue than they did on Wildfire.
Yeah, they only scored 1 point on Wildfire, so they've already exceeded their points total from the previous map in just 1 round, so I guess that is a positive indicator. Key takes the lead, takes that wide line. We've seen a few players do that. I don't know if it necessarily benefits. It seems like you get more exit speed as you come through that no break section, and I guess ultimately it ends up around even, as all players are literally within a 10th of each other so far. Probably the closest round we've seen, although Bozbez sticks a wheel over the outside and unfortunately falls foul. Key still in the lead. Jaden, can he get him this time? Goes slightly wider, should carry the speed through again. Key still holding firm. Does he get the finish? Yes, he does. 54.0 there, 5/10 off world record. Josh in 3rd place, and Boz very far behind, actually. Boz not having a great couple of rounds to start things off here.
Yeah, it's that quarter pipe catching without. Well, I mean, Boz managed to crash before it. Josh crashed during it, but I don't think Evo will complain as they move 4-2 up over Geese Can Fly here. They're looking good.
Looking good so far, but we know how quickly these maps can change, how quickly things can swing in the other direction. 1 ace from Geese Can Fly, and they're 5-4 up. But yeah, all 4 players driving super fast, super consistent. This is probably the highest skill level that we've had as a combination of the 4 players we've seen so far. And things are starting to get a bit closer. I said that the first map would probably go Geese Can Fly's way. It did so in dramatic fashion. Now it feels like we have a match on our hands.
Oh yeah, and this time it is Boz falling behind again, and I feel like he can enter these negative spirals a bit sometimes, but he's not too far down. But for now, this round, it is so tight up at the front. It is Josh, Key, and Jaden. We see Jaden go for the safe in, and that is not the decision he needed to make in that situation. That's gifted that ace and possibly the entire map to Evo.
I mean, you have to feel that that was a forced decision. Like, he must have felt like he just couldn't make the risky with the line that he had, but ultimately it is going to cost him. So I guess you class it as a mistake, just not being able to go for that risky finish. 7-2 Evo. This is quite the turnaround, Padster, from map 1.
Oh yeah, it's so different to what we saw on Wildfire, and it looks, I don't want to get too excited, we might get map 4.
Yeah, this would confirm, this would lock in a map 4 if Evo are able to see it out. Geese Can Fly only on 2 points. Evo just needs like ace, win plus draw, or 3 draws. That's how they can win this. And Jaden crashing there. Is it ace formation at the moment? Oh, sorry, no, it was Josh crashing. My bad.
Yeah, it's gonna be a draw, but when it's this tight, the draw is going to go and favor Evo heavily. because it moves them ever so closer to that map win. All they need now, a victory would do it. 2 draws in a row, they got plenty of options.
Could be a decisive round here. Second track point of the map. Starting off with Boz taking an early lead. Should carry more speed through onto the jump here. But everyone seems to be fairly consistent, driving similar paces. Jadon should get the speed onto the dirt. Overtakes. Was there a touch on the outside there from Josh? Drops 2 tenths behind. I think he's still within touching distance, but it's a battle up front between Jadon and Key. Who gets the exit speed? Who gets the lead as we go into the second half of the map? All players grab that reactor. It's still anyone's game. Quarter pipe coming up. Padster could be decisive.
We're going to have to see, and Boz doesn't even get as far as quarter pipe, and is that going to round off this map? Key is in first, Josh in third. If they hold on to this, it will be a victory, and that'll send the scoreline 10.
What about an ace?
4.
What about an ace?
It will be an ace. They do it in style. 11-3, a dominant performance from Evo there on Perfect Blue.
Well, they looked down and out in game 1, but what a turnaround. To talk about, you know, mental fortitude to do that kind of thing on stage. You've got 40, 50 people watching, and just to kind of hold your nerve, show your best, and bring the series back to a tie game. Yeah, huge respect to those guys, and it's what we expected. Like, you know, I guess we were talking them down as being second best in the series, just because Boz and Jadon, they seem the favourites, but they're proving that that might not necessarily be the case here. We could get a real upset.
We're going to see. I mean, that was their map pick, and they move on to their second map pick next. So, yeah, it's been 2 completely different performances from Evo on those 2 maps. They got absolutely destroyed on Wildfire. Admittedly, not from their pace. Their pace looked brilliant, but their consistency was nowhere. But onto Perfect Blue, a map that I think you see more crashes on usually, and they look, you know, pretty solid. It's been a strange performance from them, but a performance I don't think they'll be too displeased with, as we're going to move on to the next map very, very shortly. The players just warming up now, and I believe we're going on to It's Soccer Not Football, an unexpected pick from Evo, but we're going to see how it plays out for them.
Yeah, I mean, if they end up winning, genius. If they end up losing, not so smart. But yeah, we were slightly confused because obviously earlier on it was Geese Can Fly's pick. Bozbez set that world record. Epos got very close to it. Josh has third place, set a 53.942 just a day ago. Jadon also 4 hours ago, 53.9 of his own. So there's some real pace on this map from all of the players here. Key as well, 53.9. So the pace is there. It's the consistency that's going to be the deciding factor, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see, and it's Boz going into the wall first. Big mistake there, very costly, as Key and Josh not making the mistakes. They're holding on to a 1-2 here, and it could be an immediate ace out the gate, but not so much. Josh with a strange mistake there.
I think it was a no slide.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened, but it is Jadon versus, Jadon versus Key up at the front. Still in favour of Evo Esports, but we have the 360 coming up. We have the youth who have been used to this style of mapping versus the old players, and we see the youth win out there. Jadon with first, Boz with third. That is going to be advantage Geese Can Fly.
Yeah, Key was in the lead for the first half of that map, but you could just see Jadon just reeling him in, full sent it on the outside of that 360, and was able to catch up, get the 2-1 victory. So Boz there, very thankful that his teammate was able to come in after his mistake there and clutch up, pull through for him. So Geese Can Fly 2-1, a slender lead from round 1 on Evo's map pick.
Yeah, this round pretty tight at the moment. Boz not with the bugs like they would have wanted. That will drop him down to 4th place. So it is once again Josh, Key and Jadon up at the front. Now, Key makes one of the kindest mistakes you can make. Any other part of the track, or honestly 95% of corners, doing a crash like that, you'd lose 3 seconds. But with a reactor, only about 1 second down for now, though. It is going to be a battle of the newer players, Jadon versus Josh, and Josh wins out on that, gets into the finish. That is a nice recovery there for Evo after Key's mistake. They managed to hold it to a draw. Score stays very close.
Yeah, really nice time as well. 54.0, less than 2/10 off the world record that Boz set earlier. So really good times. That's the times that you need to win rounds at the moment. Drive within 2/10 of world record. Just no tall order, right?
Yeah, easily done, easily done. Just drive it right next to world record. Why not? This round, we have Key. Oh, all four of them so tight. There's no point starting a sentence because by the time I finish it, a different player will be in the front. But Key versus Boz forming towards the front. It's a bit of an opposite of what we saw last round, as all players keeping it clean and tidy. Key's lead building up slightly further, clips the outside dirt. If he didn't have that lead, he'd be out of the count, but he is now into the main pack here. It's going to come down to this 360. How does everyone get it? Josh gets it beautifully. Jadon gets it well. I'm not sure what's happened behind. Ooh. Jumps too far to the left, though, Josh. And that costs them the victory. Keeps the round close. 4-3. This has been such a tight match.
Yeah, I hadn't even considered how much you could lose of just not kind of full sending the inside of that finish block, but it does lose them the round. And 4-3, this is probably like the tightest map score that we've had so far. It feels like it can swing either way. Like all four players are showing that they can drive within 2-3/10 of that world record that Boz set earlier. It's just the consistency kind of seems even throughout. Like all players prone to mistakes. Boz has made a couple, Jadon made a couple. Like all of the players seem like they're slightly evenly mistake prone. I don't know who's going to win, Padster, but it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be really tight. Jadon and Boz look to be in first and second right now, though.
Oh, that's a clip.
Oh, and that's not what Evo needed. Ace given to Geese Can Fly. They might have just gifted them a chance on this map.
Yeah, it's not the fastest round from them either. 54.3. So not the ideal situation for setting the blistering times that we've been so accustomed to. But we go into a track point, not match point. I'm jumping the gun there. Track point for Geese Can Fly. An ace here would send us on to map number 4 with them on match point. Evo have some serious catching up to do here.
They do, Orion. And I've decided to jump in. We've lost Padster briefly, but he'll be back shortly. At the moment, I'm just going to jump in and watch if Geese Can Fly can close it out here. It has come down to that 360 a couple of times. As he said, the finish line. Unexpected in a map like this. It might come down to the 360 again, as it is going to be 2 cars up front. Jadon and Josh, wheel to wheel, neck and neck at the moment. And we'll see if Bozbez or Key can make an impact on the round as well. As into the 360, wheel to wheel, side by side, both of them get a clean exit. It'll come down to the finish line, and how close one of them can get there. It will be Josh coming out on top, as Jadon less than a 10th behind.
Yeah, I'm sure Geese Can Fly will take that, though. It just puts them another extra point closer to victory. 8-4. Evo still have that mountain to climb in this map. Padster, as you're joining us back now. Track point, 2 points is all that's needed for Geese Can Fly. Feels like they can be the ones to do it, but don't count on Evo. They have been a surprise so far in some regards, and I feel like they could continue to surprise us here, right?
But an ace is all they really need to go and close up most of that gap at this point. But it's not going to be easy to get. You see Jadon in first, Boz in second, and this would be enough to wrap up the map. It's going to be quite an ask for them. Oh, and that is not what they need. Key going into the wall there. And Vegas need a first and third. So long, if Josh basically doesn't jump both of them, the map is over.
All comes down to the 360 from Josh. What kind of an exit does he get? Not the best one. Boz and Jadon with a good exit. Seems like this map is going to be all over, and it is 54-0 once again from Jadon. Great time there. Geese Can Fly wrap up map 3, go on to map 4, on to match point. Padster. We said 3-1 seemed like the likely outcome. It seems like that could be coming to fruition. Evo now go back on to Geese Can Fly's map pick. And I mean, we all know what happened the first time. It was what, 10-1?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was rough. And we kind of said that we were surprised by the pick of its soccer, not football. I maintain my level of surprise and slight confusion.
Yeah, me too.
Gotta say, that has not worked out with them at all. But it forces map 4 onto peak, which I gotta be honest, I can't imagine a map that Boz enjoys playing less.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Yeah.
I'm really surprised they picked it over Flower of the Ground. That is for sure what I would have bet on them going for. But we're going to see how it works out. It could have been Jadon's suggestion. Maybe Boz has just ended up putting tons of work into it. I'm not really sure. But
maybe they're afraid of Josh on Flower of the Ground. Just looking at leaderboards, Boz set a 59.9 3 hours ago. Josh set a 59.9 a month ago. So if he's setting that kind of time a month ago, then potentially they were like, yeah, we don't like the look of Josh on this map. We're just gonna go for peak and basically try and out consistency our opponents, if that is a word.
Yeah, I mean, picking into something you're good at is just as good as picking into something that they're bad at. And as I say that, Josh unfortunately gets that initial no slide. It feels like this map has two very significant sections. You've got that no slide at the start, and then you've got the 360 exit, and we see one player fall foul instantly. Puts all the pressure onto Key here. If Evo want to end up in a good position, they're gonna need Key up front to go and salvage a draw. Now, Jadon has fallen a little bit behind. There was a clip on the dirt, dropping 0.7 down. So it's gonna be a battle of Key on ice.
Yeah, that's not how to do that term.
Yeah, that's
suboptimal is the word that springs to mind.
Yeah, that's a kind word, what we just witnessed, unfortunately. And Geese can fly, possibly showing that not only do they look decent on this track, and Boz looks very good, despite my initial comment, Evo don't look happy at all.
From the first round, yeah, I think your analysis is spot on. So, painful ace for them to concede. 6 seconds behind and 13 seconds behind, respectively. So, really not a strong showing in round one, as we see.
That was Boz just straight lining.
I think a mistake. I think he's still in the round, or was that a hardware issue? I'm entirely unsure, but we'll continue to
still be driving.
we will continue here as Key once again taking the early lead, followed closely by Jadon, and also followed closely by Josh in third place. And counter ace from Evo would be absolutely huge, would put them straight back in the map, change the conversation entirely. But to do that, Josh is going to have to get Jadon on this ice 360. Does he have the speed? Oh, he's got that beautifully, but
too good.
Carried too much speed. It was too good, Padster.
Oh, that hurt to watch. That should have been a beautiful ice 360, but just couldn't get the turning circle on the left turn afterwards, and relegates him down to third. As they do maintain a draw, they don't fall any further behind, but when you get given an opportunity like Boz just basically driving straight at the start, I needed to take it.
Yeah, not only did Josh not get Jadon then, Jadon was actually able to get Key and get that draw. As we see a mistake from Key, Josh now has a lot of work on his hands if he wants to prevent Boz and Jadon advancing even further. There's a big crash though from Jadon, so now it's just Josh trying to rein in Boz for the remainder of the round, although it was very close there to the outside. Boz thought he might touch there, but ultimately keeps it clean. Josh only about 0.05 behind as things stand. It's all in the ice 360 again. Josh with the tighter line. Does it pay off? No, clips the inside. Boz disappears off into the distance. Jadon is too far behind, so I think another draw here is going to be the most likely outcome.
Yeah, Boz looking very happy on this map. That is an online PB. I wouldn't read too heavily into that. I'm sure that there's probably some exceptional times offline from Bozfez, but for now, he's looking comfortable on this track. He's looking surprisingly happy on it, as Evo struggling to get that consistency.
Yeah, that time puts him top 10 on the online leaderboards, as Josh, with a bit of a slowdown on the start there, is going to find himself half a second behind before we've even really got going. Boz and Jadon once again 1 and 2 to start this round. Score currently 5-2, so it's not out of the question for Evo to mount a comeback, but with that mistake in this round and Key about 2/10 behind, it's looking like a tall order to prevent this ace here.
Yeah, they're going to need, I think, honestly, a mistake from one of the two players ahead. We've seen a few from Jadon, it's got to be said, but relatively strong 360s coming out from both of the Geese Can Fly players. Key pushing as much as it can, but trips over the sausage block. And that will be that. That is another 3 points for Geese Can Fly, moving them within only 2 points with a hair's width of reaching the upper bracket final.
Track point, match point for Geese Can Fly. Jaden drove a great time last round, only 3/10 off of that world record. It could be the final round of this upper bracket semi-final. Padster, Geese Can Fly, all they need is a victory or 2 draws. Evo just sat on 2 points. Feels like it's insurmountable given what we saw in maps 1 and 3. Map 2 seemingly an anomaly.
Yeah, and this time, Boz once again in the lead. Jadon there as well. It's all so tight between the 4 players. It's going to come down to his 360. How do they all do it? Boz goes way too inside, hits the pole that he put there himself. As Jadon runs away with the lead though, so that is going to be at least a draw, and that's not what Evo needed. Jadon makes the finish, my bad, as Josh goes into second place, Key third. Evo rescue a point, but they're going to need 2 aces in a row now.
More than that, they're going to, well, 2 aces in a row.
To draw it.
And then, yeah, just to tie things up here. So it feels like we are marching towards Geese Can Fly into that upper bracket final. We'll see what this potentially final round or couple of rounds yields as Key into an early lead. No player making a mistake just yet. Josh full sends the inside, moves ahead of all 4 players in one corner, grabs the speed as well. Can Key move in front? Jadon takes the lead briefly, but it's so tight between all 4. Boz mounting a comeback now in the second half of the map. How does this one end? Well, we're about to find out. We go into the Ice 360 for potentially one last time. There goes Josh. Jadon into the lead, and that is all that Geese Can Fly need. Jadon just needs to hold on in this final turn. Key can push it as much as he likes, but there's not much to be gained. Jadon into the finish, and Geese Can Fly into the upper bracket final.
Yeah, that was a strong performance from Geese Can Fly there. Although I will have to say, Evo certainly looks scary on a couple of maps. Despite the frankly awful scoreline on Wildfire, they looked rapid on it. So I reckon other teams could have a tough time on that. And obviously on Perfect Blue, they looked so good. So great set of maps there. But Geese Can Fly, they march on and they head into the upper bracket final.
Yeah, and I think Evo can look really good against any other team. Like against Boz and Jadon, it's always going to be an uphill battle. It's always going to be having to beat a player that's driving within 3/10 of world record. Like it's so difficult to do that round after round after round after round. But I think that they'll have success in the lower bracket. I fully expect them to make it back to the top 4. Do they make it to the grand final? If they take a big step up and they can maintain their current pace and just iron out those mistakes, maybe we see them in that grand final coming from the lowers. It would be a tall order.
It would be a very busy lower bracket run. I mean, the first thing they need to deal with will of course be Split. That is going to be their next match, and I do think that could honestly be a tough one, but that's not for us to discuss. That is for the analysts, as for once I get to throw to the analysts. So let's get ready to catch.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Padster. Right. So, what an entertaining game we had there. We finally saw the fabled map 4, and after a pretty much dominant map 1, there was some technical difficulties for Geese Can't Fly. Like they don't look as indomitable as we maybe thought.
And I think the interesting thing specifically to me about that is how much of the conversation for Geese Can't Fly has centered around how good Boz is and how maybe, can other teams exploit Jadon? And I would say towards the back half of that map, it was Boz who was potentially the exploitable member of Geese Can't Fly. Jadon was absolutely stepping up in the rounds that they needed Jadon to step up in.
I'll say it, map 2, like, Boz non-factor.
Yeah.
Like, just not there. And we can blame some of that on technical difficulties, of course. Like, there was some issues with mouse and, like, just wacky peripherals. It's what you can come to expect. But yeah, just a non-factor in map 2, and that's what finally gave us that map 4 that we've been so excited for this entire tournament. It took us to match 5, but
yeah,
we got there in the end.
Speaking of that second map, I really think this is the first time we've seen the pick ban really play a factor here.
Yeah.
Evo seemed like they were far more confident on that than any other map in the map pack. So yeah, I think this is the first time we've seen that. I wonder how going forward that'll change how other teams play into them.
Yeah.
If they'll actually think a little bit more about what they're picking banning against them to specifically try and get that map away from them.
Yeah, and it was something that was talked about on the cast a few times as well, was the surprise they had at EVO going with Soccer Not Football in position 3. But because I think a lot of that comes down to is like, look, we expect we're going to win one of the first 2 maps maybe at least, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then the question becomes like, well, do we want to be playing a decider on this track? We're like, hey, if we're going to lose that one anyway, let's get out of the way early rather than maybe having to like feel the nerves on track 4 or 5. And I think in this format where there's no bans, where it is purely picks, and you know, if you go to a game 5, you're guaranteed to see all 5 maps.
Yeah.
It really does come down to like, well, what do we want map 5 to be rather than like, you know, do we think like map 4 is good or bad for us as well?
Exactly. Yeah. Pick your poison and think, well, something we can try and get through and, you know, see how we can survive at the end.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's an interesting discussion to have because as we look through the bracket, like you see some teams on the upper bracket, Walls and Moonvale have had a long time to sit and sort of fester, so they know like where the strong maps are, and like in a format where you're not banning, maybe it's a case of, say this was a best of 3, are you going to pick your permaban to maybe throw your opponents off the edge, or is it just going to be a case of let's be as comfortable as possible as we go into like a 5 map pool?
Yeah, I think if you're the team who's getting the second and third map as their pick, you're probably thinking for the third map, try and pick your most confident there, so you can get at least, if you're maybe down a map for the first or second ones, and you've got that momentum to going through as like, oh, we're picking a map which we really know, we're really comfortable with. Or if you're already 2 maps up, it's one to close it out on.
Yeah.
So I'll be very interested to see which map, who's the highest seed in this, I assume.
It'd be Geese Can't Fly.
In
they
Wolves
entered number 1.
in our next match.
Oh, in the next game, yeah.
I think Wolves?
Wolves, yeah.
Moonvale
with Wolves, yeah.
Yeah. So be curious what they pick. Obviously with having Wizzy and the wheel player, we'll see what type of map, you know, maybe the 360s won't be as preferable towards him.
Yeah.
Never doubt the pace of Epos though. Like again, so like world record pace to beat Split.
Yeah.
The pace is there. It's whether or not they keep the consistency going throughout the day and whether Divinios can back up that sort of speed that Epos has provided. Going down the lower bracket as well, Split and Evo, that is going to be such an entertaining game tomorrow.
That's going to be really interesting because I think we saw Split really get into their groove in this last couple matches. Unfortunately for looks like Dampu there against, they tried. But yeah, Split were looking really good in their match against Moonvale. Gillian was playing incredibly, you know, really battling up against Epos and Vinky really well. So I think if they can continue that tomorrow, obviously it's a bit of a gap between each match. Let's hope they can keep the momentum going, and I think they've got a good chance to maybe get to the lower bracket finals.
Yeah. We hope they don't party as too much tonight as well. They want to prep for that lower bracket run potentially. But in the next game, we have one more game for you today. It's Wolves versus Moonvale at Trent on track.